Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. Tonight, as the nation stops to celebrate the Queen's historic Platinum Jubilee, I'll bring you the bombshell results of our exclusive independent poll of Brits, revealing just what we really think of the monarchy, patriotism, and the exiles, Harry, Meghan and Andrew too. It's not good news for them. All will be revealed in my special digest next. Then my superstar panel will give analysis. Tonight, I'm joined by Conservative commentator Dominique Samuels, former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey, and author and broadcaster Amy Nicole. After making 2 appearances on the iconic Buckingham Palace balcony, the Queen has tonight moved to Windsor, where she will light the principal Jubilee beacon on her 3rd public appearance of the day. But with the breaking news in the past hour that Her Majesty will not attend tomorrow's Thanksgiving service at St Paul's, might this be the last time we see the 96-year-old this weekend? Well, we'll cross live at 9:50 to our royal author and commentator, Robert Jobson, who's been at Buckingham Palace all day for the latest. And speaking of the Sussexes, after being shunted into the background today and snubbed by the BBC, will they ever be truly welcome at any royal celebration? Royal biographer Tom Bower, who penned a bestseller on Prince Charles and is working on a book about Meghan, joins me at 10:20. And as it's revealed, a shocking 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds agree with lefty loons who liken Union Jack displays to something out of Nazi Germany. Why are so many young people aggressively unpatriotic? Social media sensation Zuby gives his verdict and uncancelled at 10:45. Elsewhere on the show, as his top allies Nadine Dorries and Priti Patel lash out at opponents like Ramona Tobias Elwood, who's suggesting we rejoin the EU single market, are Tory rebels trying to depose Boris Johnson to reverse Britain's newfound independence? We'll debate that at 10 p.m. After billionaire Elon Musk issues an amazing ultimatum to his employees. Should workers return to the office or lose their jobs? It's a supersized clash tonight with music mogul Pete Waterman, businesswoman and model Danielle Lloyd, former Apprentice star Amy Ansell, and entrepreneur Luke Johnson, all battling it out. This is the question that has shocked me most this week. Why is the very hungry caterpillar now in danger of being cancelled? My favourite book growing up. Well, political firebrand Anne Widdecombe weighs in on the ludicrous targeting of the classic children's book at 9:45. Plus, should Britain follow Canada's lead and consider decriminalising hardcore drugs, including cocaine and MDMA? And look who's made an appearance in Albert Square. Yes, soap royalty met actual royalty in tonight's EastEnders. More details on that in the media buzz at 10:30. Plus, after stealing the show at the Palace, could Prince Louis snatch tonight's Greatest Britain crown from his great-grandma? The final GBUJ of the week closes out the show at 10:50. Plus, of course, we'll reveal how tomorrow's papers are kicking off their Jubilee coverage as the front pages land too. This is Dan Wootton tonight. Let's go. Just one thing first, though. We really are the best country in the world, aren't we? What a day. Our great Queen promised us we would meet again. Makes you proud to be British, and we will have lots of coverage and analysis of the Platinum Jubilee coming up. But don't worry, we have all of our regular features as well this special bank holiday, including my superstar panel. Here they are: the political commentator Dominique Samuels, the former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey, and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicole. But first, the news headlines at 9 with Polly Middlehurst.
Dan, thank you. The top story tonight: the Queen will miss tomorrow's Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral in London after experiencing some discomfort during today's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Buckingham Palace has said tonight the decision has been made with great reluctance, but Her Majesty will still attend a beacon lighting event at Windsor Castle later on this evening. Earlier, joined by members of her family, though, on the balcony of Buckingham Palace, Her Majesty watched as Royal Air Force jets flew in formation in the number 7070, marking the number of years of the Queen's reign. The red arrows also stream the colours of the Union flag across the sky, and royal gun salutes were also taking place across the UK. Millions of people across the nation celebrating this great occasion.
We do it really well in Britain, don't we? Nobody like us Brits can put on a show. It is amazing, absolutely amazing.
I was going to say the music for me, the band was probably my number one, but I did have a glimpse of Princess Anne on her horse as well.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you saw Princess Anne, didn't you?
It was just lovely, and then there was all the carriages with Kate and Camilla and all those. It was just lovely, wasn't it? Yeah. We're so glad we came. We ummed and ahed, but it was a lot of hard work to get here and so busy, but worth every minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, the Duke of York will also miss tomorrow's Thanksgiving service. That's after palace officials confirmed he's tested positive for COVID. The infection came to light during routine testing, apparently. It's understood Prince Andrew has seen the Queen in the last few days, but not since he tested positive. Well, more than 1,000 people have been honoured in the Queen's Jubilee Honours List. Medical staff who worked through the COVID pandemic are among them, including NHS Director Professor Stephen Powers, who will be made a Knight, and Chief Nursing Officer Ruth May, who will be made a Dame. The actor Damien Lewis has been made a CBE, and the crime writer Ian Rankin has been knighted in the list. And the former Northern Ireland First Minister and GB News presenter Arlene Foster has been made a Dame. Well, away from the Jubilee, the NATO Secretary-General says the alliance is addressing Turkey's concerns over Sweden and Finland's requests to join the military group. The two Nordic states said yesterday they'll continue discussions with Turkey over their bids to join. That comes after President Zelensky of Ukraine said Russia now occupies a fifth of his country. Speaking after a meeting with President Biden, Jens Stoltenberg said it's up to Ukraine now to negotiate how they want to end the war. You're up to date on TV, online and on your radio via DAB+. You're with GB News. And now it's time for Dan Wootton Tonight.
Today and all weekend long, we celebrate the Queen. In my opinion, our greatest ever monarch. A figure whose unwavering and steadfast service for 70 years has seen the monarchy not only survive, but thrive in the midst of the sort of social change and political upheaval almost impossible to imagine in 1952 as Elizabeth II took the throne.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
Over the years, I have tried to follow my father's example and to serve you as best I can. You have given me in return your loyalty and your understanding.
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
I hope that tomorrow we can all, wherever we are, join in expressing our grief at Diana's loss and gratitude for her all too short life.
It was humbling that so many chose to mark the anniversary of a duty which passed to me 60 years ago. We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again.
And today, we did. I shudder to think where our monarchy would be if Nazi sympathiser Edward VIII hadn't abdicated to pursue his love affair with the American divorcee Wallis Simpson, because it's odd to think the Queen wasn't born into this role. We'll probably never see another Platinum Jubilee, so these 4 days matter. Britain is back. The United Kingdom is independent and strong. Our great monarchy remains at the heart of our stable and successful political system. But as the Queen enters her twilight years, and as you know, I hope and pray she will reign for many decades more, there are significant challenges ahead. Some of them have been made clear by our exclusive poll of thousands of UK citizens independently conducted by One Poll for this show this week. Now, first and foremost, the Queen remains overwhelmingly the favourite member of the British royal family, ahead of Prince William and Kate, who are appropriately tied for second place, and Prince Charles and Camilla, who are tied for third. Given both couples are at the centre of the slimmed-down monarchy we saw unveiled during today's historic balcony appearance, that feels significant. But some of the challenges facing the monarchy in the years ahead were emphasised by our poll of the least favourite members of the royal family. 2 figures tower above all others: disgraced Prince Andrew with 27% and exiled Meghan with 18%. Her husband, Prince Harry, once the most popular member of the royal family, now the 3rd least popular. While Prince Andrew was left out of today's official celebrations, there is much consternation amongst the British public about the return of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to the UK after their blistering criticism of the British monarchy since their decision to Mexit at the start of 2020. A massive 54% of people agree or strongly agree that there is a risk of reputational damage to the royal family from Harry and Meghan attending the Jubilee, more than double the 22% who disagree or strongly disagree. Meanwhile, 57% of people think Meghan and Harry will or might try and steal the limelight from the Queen at the Jubilee. And 55% say the Queen was right to ban the couple from the balcony today. Just a quarter of Brits wanted her there. Even more folk, 2/3 of the country, believe the Queen was right to block her favourite son from making an appearance. Almost 3 times as many people said Harry and Meghan should not be allowed to film Netflix content at the Jubilee. 58% said no, compared to 20% who said yes. And 32% of respondents said the drama of the Sussexes had made the Jubilee less enjoyable, with 40% saying the same for Andrew. Looking to the future in an unimaginable world where the Queen isn't on the throne, there also looks to be tougher times ahead for the heir to the throne, Prince Charles. More people think William would be a better king than Charles, 77% compared to 66%. And only 39% approve of Queen Camilla, compared to 58% who approve of Queen Kate. Could the Princess Diana effect impact Charles's popularity? Well, it certainly seems so, given older age groups were much more enthusiastic about William being king than Charles. In fact, there's a real generational divide developing about how we see Britain, especially when it comes to the glorious Union Jack flag waving style of patriotism that's been on display this weekend. A shocking 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds, that's the equivalent of 2 out of every 5 respondents, said it was appropriate to liken Jubilee decorations to Nazi Germany. That compares to 18% overall hardcore Labour lefty Guardian readers, I imagine all. An equal 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds don't think the Queen has been good, compared to just 8% of 65 and overs. Just 12% of 18 to 24-year-olds think the UK is not patriotic enough, compared to 33% of those aged 65 and older. Double the amount of 18 to 24-year-olds think the UK is too patriotic, compared to over 65s. That's 74% to 7%. Now, look, I would like to think as these rebellious young folk grow up and naturally become more conservative, they'll realise the importance of the monarchy to this great country. So thank you, Ma'am. You have done all you can to leave the institution strong. In fact, an overwhelming 83% of us say you have done a good job over the course of your reign. The challenge now is for Prince Charles and William to prove they can pick up the mantle and continue Queen Elizabeth II's great work. God bless our Queen. Long may she reign. To respond now, my superstar panel, the political commentator Dominique Samuels, the former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey, and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicole. So, Sean, this is a fascinating poll of the country. It's not a poll of GBNews viewers, by the way. It's a poll of the representative population. And what it says to me is that the popularity of the Queen remains as strong as ever. But there are challenges ahead for the monarchy, Sean.
I mean, the figures speak for themselves. Your first point, the popularity of the Queen remains strong, is true. But I think the most interesting pieces are about Charles. Now, you made a comment, could it be that the Princess Diana effect has reduced how popular he is? I actually think Charles needs to worry about making populist, zeitgeist statements like he's for the environment, he's not against fracking or whatever it is. They're the things I think that actually are reducing his popularity.
Stop being a little mini Greta Thunberg.
What you need to stop doing is stop making these popular but vacuous statements. You need to tread the middle line. Where the Queen has been great, if you're for fracking, against fracking, if you're green, blue, black, white or mauve, you don't feel like the Queen's against you. And I think Charles, he needs to be very careful at looking like he's for all the people.
And
the Queen has been very good at that.
That if we did have Prince Charles as king, we would have an official adulterer as head of the Church of England, which surely is a little bit off-putting. But I think the most troubling thing from this selection of maths that you just presented to us is the fact that the media is capable of making a couple who moved to America and didn't want to do their job anymore less popular than a close friend of a convicted paedophile. That's troubling, and that's the issue that I've got from that lovely presentation.
Yeah, that did shock me as well, to be honest. I think, I mean, I can see why. Obviously, Prince Andrew hasn't been as vocal as Meghan and Harry have. I mean, they've paraded themselves in the media, but then at the same time, to be best friends with a convicted paedophile, yet still be more popular than Meghan and Harry, I think that speaks... That speaks volumes, but I think
absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, but I think just in terms of the future of the monarchy, I think a lot of people do feel as though the Queen has been brilliant. I mean, I don't think anyone really is against the Queen.
At what, really? When we think
she's
about
brilliant at being
Amy, you know what? Do you know what, Amy?
Not today.
Do you
You're
know
going to
what,
say not
Amy?
today.
This is not the day for you on this show. I'm actually not going to have it today. In all seriousness, I'm about freedom of speech. I want to discuss the freedom of the monarchy, the future of the monarchy. But do you really, on this day, regardless of your feelings about the monarchy, want to come here and slag off the Queen, who has given 70 years of dedicated service to the country? Because personally, I don't want to hear it today.
Dan, that's exactly my problem. The fact that someone had to give their life, their 70 years, against their will to a job they might not even like. Like, that's kind of fundamentally wrong, that she was born into a role that she had no say in. Look, I love Britain. I love Oasis. I love the Spice Girls. I love prawn cocktail crisps. But I do have a problem with forcing somebody to do a job for 70 years.
She could have abdicated.
And look what happens when you leave the royal family. Look how much popularity you get from that. You're less popular than a paedophile.
The most important thing in this is the 40% of young people who likened Jubilee celebrations, the bunting, etc. There's a very important message here. I would ask every one of those young people, why is it they believe they cannot be linked to or in support of the country they come to? If they ever come across a young person from another nation, ask them how they feel about patriotism to their own nation. It's important.
Dominique, this is your generation. What has gone wrong with your age group for them to feel so unpatriotic?
I think it's just left-wing brainwashing, to be honest.
At universities,
where it's unpopular, it's weird, it's dirty, it's racist to have pride in your country. And I suppose, you know, you could say it's a generational thing, but it seems to have gotten particularly worse in more recent years, where being patriotic is linked to extreme comparisons like Nazi Germany. And to be quite frank, that's absolutely disgusting. And we've gotten into this habit where we appropriate the atrocities of the past and think we're actually entitled to do that, and we're not. It's disgusting. And these young people, you know, who are near to my age probably think they're being cool and woke by doing this, but they just sound stupid.
I have to say, Dominique's point is spot on. If you believe that if any time somebody uses the word Nazi in this manner, what they're doing is closing down the debate. They're making sure that no conversation's had. And what they're trying to do is make this situation carry the baggage of one of the worst in the history of human beings' behaviours by a particular group of people. That's wrong. If you're a young person at home now, analyse this for what it is. Don't analyse it through the lens of Nazi Germany.
Amy, are you proud of the Union Jack flag?
I think that the Union Jack flag is inherently going to be linked to nationalism, and that's why people kind of push away from it, because before it was put on all this bunting.
Only by the hard left like you.
Before this weekend, and perhaps the Diamond Jubilee, what bunting is associated with rallies and far-right nationalism.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not.
Ridiculous.
I mean, you could make that argument.
Hello, Emily Thornberry.
But not the British. That's just ridiculous. The British flag is a symbol of unity, and I think regardless of your views on the monarchy or the Queen in particular, I think most people do. I mean, look at the amount of people that came out today to support the royal family. When I walked around Oxford Street, saw all that bunting, I felt happy, genuinely, because it makes me feel as though I belong to something greater than myself. And I think that's what a lot of people on the left forget. You want us to only feel connected to our own selfish desires, either our own selfish desires or the collective or daddy government, whereas people that are patriotic to their actual country know that there is something that exists that's greater than them, and that's the point that people like you miss.
Look at that flag and remember colonialism and see
they need
what
to
it
get
did
a grip.
and went to countries, divided up the parts and left them for
Well, Sean, I would say, Sean, this is actually what makes the left in this country unelectable, because those folk outside Buckingham Palace today came from all over the country. They were of all political persuasions.
All colours as well, I saw.
Absolutely. All races, all colours. And I just feel like this immediate linking of patriotism to some sort of hyper-nationalism or racist nationalism is what will make the left in this country unelectable. Because Amy sounds like Emily Thornberry.
What the left are basically saying is, we don't like you. That flag was designed to represent the broadness of this country. If you look at the Commonwealth and its members, they want to be members of that. They like being members. And what the left have done is vilify anybody who looks to the flag, which is the vast majority of people in the country. So I'd say to anybody, if somebody's trying to make you feel bad about the flag you live under, ask Americans how they feel about their flag, or Jamaicans or Puerto Ricans. They like the flag. Nigerians.
They put that everywhere.
Everybody likes their flag. They're trying to particularly separate you from the nation that's given you all that you have.
And we have so much as a country to be proud of. And I think on days like today, even people who are against this government can say, you know what, we do a really good job as a country.
But we're not doing a really good job. We're doing a horrible job as a country. At the moment, food poverty is so bad that children are being taken into care. Food bank usage is off the scale. It's worse than it's ever been.
You're just proving my point.
But even this food banks, the fact that food banks exist are a bad thing, but that is a generosity of the nation. That's British people sat in their house saying, I refuse for people who live where I live to starve. Where else in the world does that happen?
The current
Where else in the world?
Country suggests Britain is very much not back, as you put it.
That's a really good point, but
Lovely
the other
display, great eating mess, but unfortunately the country's in ruins.
The other thing is, people like you always link a country's greatness to the government that's in power.
Because it's the government's job to make sure
to make
that
a country great. The government of the day doesn't make up the history and the people of a nation.
But this is where the left. This is where the left are entirely wrong. This country does not prosper by its government. It prospers by the people in this country. And why the flag is important and why nationalism is important is because it outlasts any particular government, be it left or right. It is the people of this nation that has always built it.
It's a government that gives people opportunity.
My friend is an American, said something very important to me. He said to me, the most impressive thing about Britain is its civil activity. All the think tanks, all the charities said that's what makes Britain, not the government. And why the Queen is important, be you love her or hate her, is because she's the head of state. The head of state of America is a political figure who will always disappoint the Queen.
Well, exactly, because can I just say as a final point, if any political figure maintained an 83% approval rating after 70 years in power, you would say they were the most successful political figure of all time.
Up and down. When Diana died, 72% of the country said the Queen was out of touch.
For about 24 hours.
It's recoverable.
For about 24 hours.
Like Meghan and Harry, who knows?
For about 24 hours. I mean, I just repeat, she's been in power, she's been on the throne for 70 years. And her approval rating remains at 83%. She has the overwhelming support of the country. I'm sorry that the hard left, like Amy, want to do her down, even on a special day like today. I find that quite disgraceful and unpatriotic. You're allowed to do it, but I'm allowed to say to you, I think it's absolutely disgraceful for you to say that about the Queen today.
I think it's disgraceful that you can say Britain is back at a time of such absolute ruin.
Britain never went away. It never went away. We've always been there. We're one of the preeminent nations.
Someone who's working two jobs and using a food
We have been one of the preeminent nations on this planet for 100 years and more.
Indeed. Indeed. And by the way, we were shut off for a couple of years, and the Queen said we would meet today, and today we did, and we are back. Are things perfect? Absolutely not. Are we better for having had the Queen on the throne for 70 years? Absolutely. Amy Nicole, Dominic Samuels, Sean Bailey, my superstar panel are here all night. But also coming up, why is the very hungry caterpillar in danger of being cancelled? Political firebrand Anne Widdecombe tackles that woke insanity in big witty style at 9:45. But next, is Tesla billionaire Elon Musk right that workers should return to the office or risk losing their jobs? Tonight's Clash is a lineup of the best of British business. Music mogul Pete Waterman, businessman and model Danielle Lloyd, former Apprentice star Amy Ansell, and entrepreneur Luke Johnson, all on the way next. As ever, I want to know your thoughts as well as theirs. Email me, dan@gbnews.uk, tweet me at GBNews. We've got a poll running there too. The results after the break.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio. On digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Anne Widdecombe and Zuby on the way, but time now for the clash. And Elon Musk is fast becoming one of my heroes. Not only is he leading the defence of free speech, the Tesla boss has now ordered all workers at the electric car giant to return to the office or lose their jobs. This week he sent a stern memo to staff with the subject line, remote work is no longer acceptable. And he wrote, anyone who wishes to do remote work must be in the office for a minimum, and I mean minimum, of 40 hours per week or depart Tesla. This is less than we ask of factory workers. Musk said he would personally review and approve exceptions directly before firing off a second email titled "To be super clear." He then blasted, moreover, the office must be where your actual colleagues are, not some remote pseudo office. If you don't show up, we will assume you have resigned. Oh, I love it. Certainly one way to get work-shy WFH types back into the fold. Civil service should take note. But I want to know your take on this. Is Elon Musk right that workers should return to the office or lose their job? Let me know your thoughts by emailing me at dan@gbnews.uk, tweet me at gbnews and vote in our poll while you're there. But we've got a Royal Rumble-style debate on this tonight with former Apprentice star Amy Ansell, businesswoman and model Danielle Lloyd, entrepreneur Luke Johnson and legendary record producer Pete Waterman. Luke, you have run all sorts of major businesses in your time. Did you think Elon Musk's language and approach was the right one?
I do. And I think it was all about the fact that he's in a manufacturing business. And what he said was that office workers should be aligned with the factory workers who've had to be there every single day throughout making things. They can't phone it in. And he made the point that unless you want a divided workforce, you all need to be in it together. And he is making extraordinary products. You know, his business turned over $70 billion last year. It's a very serious world-leading company. And I think that that's partly because they've had that commitment, that motivation, that inspiration, that collaboration that you get from being together in a workplace rather than remote.
Pete Waterman, are you with Luke and Musk?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think Luke just said it absolutely right. You're all in it together. And, you know, if you've got to go to work for 40 hours a week in the factory, then you expect everybody to do the same, including the boss himself.
Amy Ansell, you disagree, though. You think Musk was wrong here.
That's right. Total hybrid model is the way forward. I think if you work in a factory, of course you have to be there to do the job. But sales, new business development, there's so many areas where it's hybrid. That is the way to be more productive. Some people work better in a quiet, peaceful environment. Some people work better in an office setting. I know that Amazon has a hybrid model and it's been working great. They leave it up to the team leaders, to the project managers to decide how many days a week their teams come in. And it's been really successful and it's led to tremendous productivity and ultimately a lot happier staff.
Luke, do you believe that?
No, I think that if you look at surveys, the real reason why people don't necessarily want to return to the office is they're saving lots of money from not commuting. And it's about the fact that effectively working from home is a pay rise as far as they're concerned. It's nothing to do with whether that's good or bad for the business. It's because they've granted themselves a pay rise. And I think it's fine for people to work from home, for example, if Stevenson Harwood, the law firm, says they get a 20% pay cut as a consequence because they don't need that extra waiting to pay for commuting. But I suspect most people don't want a 20% pay cut, so they should get back to the office.
Danielle Lloyd, you're obviously a businesswoman, but you balance family too. Where do you stand?
I think people should get back to the office. I think not only obviously so that they can be watched over, because I have friends who work from home, they open laptops. and the nails, they're on the phone, they're concentrating on their actual job, and nobody's there to manage that. So, and I know for the mental health reasons as well, I know during lockdown I couldn't stay at home any longer. I couldn't wait to get back to work.
No, it was completely hellish. Pete Waterman, I guess the counter-argument is that some folk have to balance being a mum or being a dad, and it works better. I mean, I don't believe that, but that's what one of the arguments is, Pete.
Yeah, I get that argument, but, you know, you have childcare, you can put, you know, children into nursery for a while. You know, you're either going to work for a company or you're not going to work for a company. You've either got a job or you haven't got a job. And I just touch on the mental health issue. I think that's important. I wouldn't want to work from home all the time. I think, you know, it's great working with your friends. And when they don't come in, it's not the same. It's a completely different ballgame. And particularly if you're creative. I think to quote Amazon, by the way, is a bit misleading. It's like having a shop, but with no shop. You can work from home because everybody's buying it online. You don't see people. But I think, you know, when you go in an office, you make friends. You know, it's good. It's good for you. You see other people. You get a different view to life. You know, you've just heard on this program now. We all don't agree, but in the workplace, you can all have fun. You can go home and you have another life. So you get two lives. You get two bites of the cherry. It's great.
I completely agree with that. Amy Ansell, I put it to you that there is no way someone working from home can be as productive. Because you know, Amy, and you have to admit, those folk working from home, they watch a little bit of Loose Women in their pants, they do the washing in between tasks, they walk the dog, they pop to the supermarket. I just don't buy this argument that you're more productive at home, Amy.
Dan, I totally disagree. I think that if you're hiring the right team members, if you're hiring the right staff, they're going to be committed to their job and they're going to work really well. They're not going to waste time doing all those things you just listed. So I totally disagree. I know with my team, we're all so productive at home, and then we get together and we have great meetings and we're productive in that other way. So we get the best of both worlds.
So you're never distracted at home? You're never distracted at home?
No, but think about it also. You know, you get to work and there's no annoying commute you've had to go through or missing a bus or a train. And, you know, sometimes it really takes its toll. So to get to your desk fresh as a daisy and ready to start the day, that's what I love, and I know that's what my team loves.
But Luke, the other thing you're missing out on, though, is that ability to learn, especially for young members of the business, from the senior heads. Because I'm sorry, Luke, you don't learn on a Zoom call. I think in an office, I certainly know with me in a newsroom when I was much younger, you just learn from listening to the editors around you, picking up conversations from the other staff members. You don't get that online.
I think humans are social animals and we need the face-to-face interaction with others. And you just mentioned Zoom, which is obviously the substitute for real meetings. It's fake, isn't it? We all know that any Zoom communication is inferior to the real thing in the room. And as Dan says, if you are young and ambitious, you need to be in the office if you want to get ahead. It's the way you learn, it's the way you network and get to know people. And actually, there's an opportunity for young people in organisations that are having hybrid working because they can be the ones in the office and they will be the ones who get the promotion.
Danielle, do you reckon some people just pretend to be working hard when they're at home?
Definitely. A lot of my friends do. But, you know, I love being at home and I love being at home with my children. But you do have to have that balance of being at work and coming home because it drives me insane. And, you know, I have a job that I go out to, I work hard, got a travel business I love. And then I love coming home to my kids, but I couldn't do that job being at home because I just wouldn't be able to concentrate. I'd be like you said, I'd be cooking, I'd be answering the door to the postman, then I'd be opening a post, seeing what goodies I'd got.
Yes.
It's just...
OK, Amy, that's an honest person talking about working from home.
I disagree. I'm so much more productive. But listen, I'm saying it's great to have human interaction. So I do agree with you, but not all week long. There are days that it's so helpful to be at home, plow through emails, plow through agreements, plow through stuff that really takes tremendous concentration. And then there's other days that are great to be in a meeting with other people to, banter and get those ideas flowing and the creative juices. So
But I think we've got to be so careful, Pete Waterman, because if we're not, very soon, a lot of these businesses in town centres, the public square, so to speak, they're simply not going to exist because they are really struggling to survive with the lack of foot traffic in our cities. And I know some people say that doesn't matter, why should we keep coffee shops alive? But it actually does matter for the wider ecosystem of our economy.
I think also, I was on a Zoom call recently and one of the other people were in a sauna. Having a sauna while we're trying to have
I bet that was you, Amy.
No, you're going, hang on a minute here. We're supposed to be doing business and you're in a sauna having a massage.
You weren't having a meeting with my team.
I mean, this was, and I know, for instance, this week, a company that I was talking to, they said they actually have stopped their members going to the pool while they're having the meeting. I mean, this is ludicrous. You go to work to earn a living.
Pete, you've absolutely summed it up. A Zoom meeting from a sauna. That is when I know work from home has jumped the shark. And if only we had more bosses who were like Elon Musk in this country. Fascinating discussion. Thank you so much to music legend Pete Waterman, former Apprentice star Amy Ansell, businesswoman and model Danielle Lloyd, and top entrepreneur Luke Johnson. What a lineup. So who do you agree with? Paula on Twitter says, a lot of employers are frightened to fire people that refuse to return to the office as woke employees say it's an infringement of their human rights. Sad but true. From Lara, if the commute somehow magically disappears, people would be less reluctant to return to the office. Wasting several hours a day to get to and from the office is hardly anyone's idea of fun. And from Sam via email, our free sample of socialism has expired. Time to work for one supper again. Oh my goodness, I agree. And your verdict is now in. 82% of you agree it is right. Workers who don't return to the office should be sacked. You're with Elon Musk on this. Good on you. We're not a work-shy TV show. While 18% of you say you can just stay at home in your sauna during the meeting. Coming up, why is my favourite childhood book under threat from the woke mob? Our Brexit butterfly Anne Widdecombe joins me live to discuss the very hungry caterpillar being put on the chopping block. A much-needed dose of common sense coming in big witty style soon. But next, after the breaking news tonight that the Queen won't attend tomorrow's St Paul's Thanksgiving service, might tonight's beacon lighting be the final time we see Her Majesty this Jubilee weekend? Our royal expert Robert Jobson gives his thoughts in two.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio. On digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Anne Widdecombe is on the way, but first. And breaking tonight, the Queen will not appear at tomorrow's National Service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral. A spokesperson for Buckingham Palace has said in the past hours the Queen greatly enjoyed today's birthday parade and flypast, but did experience some discomfort, taking into account the journey and activity required to participate in tomorrow's National Service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral. Her Majesty, with great reluctance, has concluded that she will not attend. So while, let's be honest, that is disappointing news, but understandable, in the last few minutes, our hard-working Queen made her third public appearance on what is the first day of her Jubilee, lighting a beacon at Windsor Castle. So she lit the leading light, symbolically setting off a chain of more than 3,500 flaming tributes and villages in cities across the UK and Commonwealth. The beacons, an ancient form of communication and a sign of unity, have long been used to mark royal jubilees and weddings. Let's see that striking moment. Oh, wow. That looked brilliant. Good on you, Your Majesty. Now, our royal commentator, Robert Jobson, has been at the palace all day, and he joins us now live from central London. So, Jobbo, look, she looked all right there, didn't she, at Windsor? But should we be concerned that the Queen won't be attending this service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral tomorrow? Jobbo, can you hear me? We're just going to try and sort that audio out. I am a little bit concerned. I am going to be honest about that because, of course, when you think about it, she is 96 years old. But the fact that they announced her absence from the ceremony before she took to her feet again at Windsor, I think was very sensible because it's saying to the world, look, she is tired, she is a little bit stressed out after what's been going on, but when it comes down to it, she isn't quite ready yet. Oh, look at her today. It was absolutely beautiful stuff. And we'll just look at these beacons now, which were lit all around the Commonwealth earlier today. So these are various countries. It does make me laugh because in just a moment, we're actually going to see the Australian new Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, lighting one of these beacons. And what is so fascinating about Anthony Albanese is, do you know what his Christmas... Oh, I don't think we have that, but hopefully we'll be able to play that clip in a moment. It was in one of the packages we prepared earlier. Anthony Albanese, his present for the Queen has been to set up and hire a new Minister of the Republic. Thank you so much for nothing, Anthony. My superstar panel back with me now, Amy Nicol, Sean Bailey and Dominic Samuels. Sean Bailey, do you think this was a particularly disloyal move by the new Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese to hire and announce a new Minister for the Republic who has actually gone on Australian television overnight talking about the possibility of the country becoming a republic? I just feel like, a bit like Amy earlier, I just feel a bit like this wasn't the time or the place, mate.
I just think it's a crass manoeuvre. It just makes him look like a child. It demeans the office that he's in. And Australian people, one way or the other, wouldn't want to be represented in this way. If he wants to push for the country to become a republic, that's his prerogative. But he shouldn't do it in this manner. This is very serious things for his nation and our nation as well. And of course, the Queen. He should conduct himself with a little bit more class.
Dominic, I thought there was no class from the Australian Prime Minister. Of course, he is a Republican. We know that. And it is his right, if he wants, to put the country on a path to a republic. Obviously, there would have to be a referendum, and we do remember the referendum didn't happen previously. But I just thought, to do it this week, you nasty, disloyal so-and-so.
Well, I think that this was a deliberate manoeuvre, and I think choosing this week was so that it caught as many headlines as possible. I think he's a very self-interested man. I mean, I don't really approve of the Australians' decision to elect him, but this was clearly a deliberate move, and I do think it wasn't classy, because it wasn't meant to be classy. Someone who clearly has no respect for the monarchy is not suddenly
and he wanted to make it clear. From his first days in office, he wanted to make it absolutely clear, I have no respect for the Queen.
Exactly.
Amy Nicole, I presume you approved wholeheartedly.
Well, he's just probably sick of all the bunting, isn't he? Let's be honest. There's never a right time for it. You know, you say he's sick of the monarchy. Well, why not now, when he's going to get as many headlines as possible?
Because we're literally celebrating a 96-year-old having spent 70 years on the throne.
And now you're
there was
literally
no
talking
public
about...
pressure in Australia for him to announce this move now.
Well, he did. So let's just see. It's completely up to Australia now, isn't it?
Amy Nicole, Dominic Samuel, Sean Bailey, my superstar panel, they'll be back soon. But coming up, as Ramona-in-Chief Tobias Elwood's mask slips, are Tory rebels trying to depose Boris Johnson to reverse Britain's newfound Brexit independence? We'll debate that at 10, plus a first look at how tomorrow's newspapers cover the start of the Jubilee festivities too, as the media buzz continues. But next, why is the very hungry caterpillar facing extinction courtesy of the woke mob? Political firebrand Anne Widdecombe here on that next.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Tom Bauer is on the way with more coverage of the Platinum Jubilee. But now it's time for big witty style. And not content with tearing down statues and rewriting history, the cancel culture cretins are now targeting one of the nation's and my favourite children's book. The Very Hungry Caterpillar, I'm sure you remember it, there it is, has been branded detrimental and not inclusive by a senior childhood researcher who says it, quote, perpetuates outdated stereotypes. So this is Dr. Helen Adams from Edith Cowan University School of Education. She said it was among a number of classic books featuring a, quote, lack of representation of boys and girls in non-traditional gender roles. That's a whole load of word salad our Very Hungry Caterpillar would happily devour. Anne Whittaker. I mean, come on. I thought I'd heard it all. But they're trying to cancel the Hungry Caterpillar. Why?
I can't believe this is going to get any traction. This is a single lunatic, I think, talking in these terms. I mean, you talk about, non-gender stereotypes. I mean, for goodness sake, it's a caterpillar. It's a caterpillar and it eats things and then it becomes a butterfly. Do we really have to sort of try and socially manipulate it so that it gets over the messages that this particular researcher thinks should be got over? This was written in 1969. I mean, 1969. It's a bit like saying that Rupert Bear's parents should be, differently dressed and more up to date, and that Mrs. Bear should go out to work. I mean, it is just a nonsense. And what is more, it's denying children the knowledge of how things were. Yeah. That is what really bothers me about all of this. We evolve as human beings, as a race.
And cultures as well,
we evolve as human beings. And that means that we have a background and a history. And children won't understand that things change and that things were different in their parents' time and their grandparents' time if everything has to be given a modern, politically correct slant. They won't understand it.
No. And look, you say this is one lunatic, and I definitely agree that she is a lunatic. But unfortunately, Anne, these people are gaining a huge amount of traction, especially in education circles. I mean, look at the attempts, and they're very serious attempts to cancel Enid Blyton books as well.
Jackie Wilson, I think it is actually rewriting some of Enid Blyton's work. I dearly wish that there was a way of preventing that happening. And yes, I mean, in Enid Blyton, there are characters that we wouldn't put into children's fiction today. But again, it's understanding the past. And I don't think you can do that unless the past is around you.
No, you absolutely can't. I guess the other question is too, Anne, and this is a genuine question that I'm putting to you, but does every piece of children's literature today have to include kids in non-conformist gender roles? I mean, to me, I don't really understand that, even about new books.
I can't see the point of that at all. It's like when I was writing my novels, not every single, that's not quite true, but so many commentators said, oh, but, there's no explicit sex. And I said, no, there isn't. Why should there be? Where is it in Jane Austen? Where is it in Charles Dickens? Why, just because it's being written now, does it have to take on a different hue? So I just feel very strongly that writing is creative.
Yes.
And The Hungry Caterpillar is a brilliantly creative. I mean, are we soon going to find that the tiger who came to tea has to be abolished because, Daddy came in from work and Mummy was there getting the tea?
Well, yes.
Where does it stop?
Yes, I mean, that is what they will say. And I think when it comes to new literature as well, it's a completely correct point to say this is about creativity. And I am very clear that diversity cannot be prescribed. If it comes naturally to a writer or a TV producer, fine. But actually, what these writers are now feeling is that unless I include, a lesbian set of parents and a mixed-race couple and a trans teenager, unless I include all of those things, I'm not going to be commissioned. And I think that's a real concern, and publishing companies need to fight back against it. But the problem is these publishing companies are increasingly being overrun by 20-something wokesters in London.
Well, we had exactly that problem with J.K. Rowling, of course, when, unbelievably, considering the huge commercial success and her work was paying for their jobs, unbelievably, they wanted to cancel her because she had made comments that they misinterpreted, I still believe, and accused her of transphobia. And it's quite true that there is almost a totalitarian attitude in the arts towards what you can write, what you can paint. It's all the music that you play. Oddly enough, it doesn't appear to apply to rap, which can have extremely violent lyrics. Yes. And nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah, very true, very true. And finally, you're obviously in your red, white and blue regalia
Absolutely.
today. It has been...
God bless Her Majesty.
Yeah, it's been quite a spectacular 24 hours. You would have heard the breaking news, I imagine, over the past couple of hours that the Queen will not be attending this Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral tomorrow. Are you worried about that, or do you just think it's a sensible move to preserve her over these 4 days? I mean, she's done 3 public appearances already today.
She is 96, Dan. She is 96. And I think we tend to forget that. We see the role, we see the monarch, but the person is 96. And those of us who've had parents, grandparents who've lived to that sort of age know that, you're not going to be as physically resilient as you used to be. I mean, bless us all, she still does government boxes. She still does red boxes. I was glad to give them up at 50. She's doing them at 96.
It makes you proud to be British today, though, doesn't it?
It does. I'm very proud to be British and very proud to have a monarchy.
Indeed. Anne Widdecombe, thank you so much. Great to have you in the studio this Platinum Jubilee Thursday. I'm Dan Wootton. It's 10 p.m. and tonight the country is officially celebrating the Queen's historic Platinum Jubilee. It felt like a moment of history to see Her Majesty out on the iconic Buckingham Palace balcony today, defying medical experts who said she'd never be seen in public again. But after an exclusive poll of thousands of UK citizens reveals 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds agree with lefty loons who likened Union Jack displays to something out of Nazi Germany, why are so many young people aggressively unpatriotic? Well, social media sensation Zuby gives his verdict, and it's a fascinating one, in Uncancelled at 10:45. Plus, as 54% of Brits agree Harry and Meghan risk reputational damage to the monarchy simply by attending the Jubilee, will the Sussexes, who were pushed into the background and snubbed by even the official BBC coverage today, ever be truly welcome at any royal celebration? Royal biographer Tom Bower, who penned a bestseller on Prince Charles and is working on a bombshell new book about Meghan, joins me live at 10:20. We'll also reveal in just a few moments and throughout the next hour how tomorrow's newspapers are covering the start of the Platinum Jubilee. And we'll have more on that breaking news tonight that the Queen won't appear tomorrow at St Paul's Cathedral. Away from the royals as Boris Johnson's top allies Nadine Dorries and Priti Patel lash out at opponents like Ramona Tobias Elwood, who's suggesting we rejoin the EU single market. Are Tory rebels trying to depose the PM to reverse Britain's newfound independence? I'll debate that next with my superstar panel. Conservative commentator Dominique Samuels, former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey, and author and broadcaster Amy Nicol. Plus, should Britain follow Canada's lead and consider decriminalising hardcore drugs, including cocaine and MDMA? I say hell no, but we'll have the discussion. And after countless campaigns of terror by environmental activists, a vegan extremist animal rebellion tackled by police at Trooping the Colour about to become the new public enemy #1. We'll take a closer look at all those topics and more in the media buzz. Plus, after stealing the show at the palace, could little Prince Louis snatch tonight's Greatest Britain crown from his grandma? The final GBU Jab of the week closes out the show at 10:50. But before all of that, the news headlines at 10 with Polly Middlehurst.
Good evening. The top story tonight on GB News. As you've been hearing, Her Majesty the Queen has attended a special beacon lighting event at Windsor Castle this evening, symbolically triggering the ceremony from her Berkshire home. The Duke of Cambridge attended a dual event at Buckingham Palace, lighting a 69-foot-high Tree of Trees sculpture with 3,500 lights. And beacons have been lit right across the UK and indeed around the world as part of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. All 54 Commonwealth capitals are also marking the occasion, lighting beacons. And you may have heard earlier, Buckingham Palace has announced the Queen won't be able to go to tomorrow's Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral after experiencing some discomfort during today's celebrations. The spokesperson said the decision had been made with great reluctance. Well, earlier, though, Her Majesty the Queen was joined by members of her family on the balcony at Buckingham Palace. The Queen watching as the Royal Air Force flew in formation in the shape of the number 70, marking the number of years of her reign. The red arrows also streaming across the skies, red, white and blue smoke of the Union flag. And royal gun salutes taking place right across the nation, with millions of people having their say that celebrating this occasion has been special to them.
We do it really well in Britain, don't we? Nobody like us Brits can put on a show. It is amazing, absolutely amazing.
I was going to say the music for me, the band was probably my number one, but I did have a glimpse of Princess Anne on her horse as well.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you saw Princess Anne, didn't you?
It was just lovely, and then there was all the carriages with Kate and Camilla and all those. It was just lovely, wasn't it? Yeah. We're so glad we came. We ummed and ahed, but it was a lot of hard work to get here and so busy, but worth every minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Well, the Duke of York will also miss Friday's Thanksgiving service. That's after palace officials confirmed he's tested positive for COVID. The infection came to light during routine testing. It's understood Prince Andrew has seen the Queen in the last few days, but not since he tested positive. And more than 1,000 people have been honoured in the Queen's Jubilee Honours List. Medical staff who worked throughout the COVID pandemic are among them, including NHS Director Professor Stephen Powis, who'll be made a Knight, and Chief Nursing Officer Ruth May, who'll be made a Dame. The actor Damian Lewis has been made a CBE, and the crime writer Ian Rankin has been knighted on the list as well. But perhaps most importantly for us here at GB News, the former Northern Ireland First Minister and GB News presenter Arlene Foster has been made a Dame. Congratulations to her from all of us. You're up to date on TV, online and on your radio via DAB+ with GB News. And now it's time for more Dan Wootton Tonight.
Tomorrow's News Tonight now in our media buzz. And let's kick off with the first look at the front pages hot off the press and the Independent. So there is a picture of our lovely Queen. I'm quite surprised, actually, because do you remember the Independent used to be proudly the Republican newspaper that would never mention the royal family, no matter how big the royal story. So anyway, there is a picture, at least. But underneath, though, the more sobering headline that Ukrainians are looking at a long fight ahead after 100 days of brutal combat. And a glorious day even for the Prince of Wales, W-A-I-L-S, leads the Daily Telegraph, along with that hilarious picture of little Prince Louis clutching his ears on the royal balcony. And the piece is authored by the Daily Telegraph's brilliant star columnist Alison Pearson, who said the event gave her the swelling sense that it was OK to feel proud to be British. Hear, hear, Alison Pearson. I couldn't agree more. My superstar panel back with me now, the political commentator Dominique Samuels, the former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey, and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicol. Now, back in February, Tobias Ellwood, one of the wet Tory rebels who sent a letter of no confidence to the 1922 committee, blamed Partygate for his Boris betrayal. But has the Europhile MP now exposed his true intentions for trying to get rid of our Brexit-supporting Prime Minister? In a startling revelation yesterday, the Remainer-in-Chief suggested Britain should rejoin the EU single market in a bid to ease the cost of living crisis, arguing politicians must dare to assess how Brexit, the biggest geopolitical decision in a generation, is faring. Just how does he think his plan will go down with the millions of Brexit-supporting Conservative voters who gave Boris a whopping 80-seat majority in 2019? I'm not sure. Thank goodness for Priti Patel, who told plotters today to, quote, forget it, while another Boris ally told The Times that no confidence backers were self-indulgent, narcissistic and contemptuous. Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries also warned Tory colleagues that they would be doing Labour and the SNP's work for them by ousting Boris.
There is, obviously, I think probably led by one or two individuals, a campaign behind the scenes to attempt to remove the Prime Minister for individual reasons to do with personal ambition and other reasons.
Who's leading it?
You know, yeah, well, I have no idea, but you know, there is obviously a coordinated campaign. So all I would say to my colleagues is that the electorate, the public, don't vote for divided parties, and I don't think we want to do both Labour and the SNP's work for them.
So, are Tory rebels using faux hysteria over cake and crusty sandwiches to derail Brexit through the back door? And Sean Bailey, as a Conservative Party member, I have spoken to lots of senior Tories who absolutely believe the bid to oust Boris is not necessarily to rejoin the EU, but to do something like Elwood proposes, you know, rejoin the single market eventually.
I think you're seeing three things here. The first thing is a Labour Party that has nothing to offer. That's why they've honed in on Boris as a character to try to remove him because they can't beat him politically. You've then seen Remoaners who have basically never forgiven Boris for delivering Brexit. It's what the people want and it's what he did. And thirdly, Tobias Auld and his ilk, they simply don't know what they're talking about. We have one of the fastest growing economies in the G7 because we did Brexit. And the most important thing is it was the working people of this country who voted for Brexit because it's the first time in 16 years they've really had a pay rise. So actually it's a piece of self-harm. And as one of the ministers said, actually doing Labour's work for them. If the roles were reversed, do you really believe Labour MPs would go after their MPM in this way? Of course not. These are MPs who are self-indulgent and haven't really looked at the fact that Boris made many of them MPs and Boris has given the party the chance to deliver. And if they try to remove him, they're just weakening the whole party.
Dominique Samuels, there certainly remains a Ramon faction in the Tories. There does.
Yeah, 100%. And this is obviously something that, you know, Remainers have capitalised on. I think the idea, though, that Boris will see this coup and suddenly say, OK, let's join the single market, I think is absolutely ludicrous.
No, it's a long game. It's a long game. But Nadine Dorries has previously explained to me that the suspicion is that it's a long game to make it increasingly difficult to properly set us free of the EU.
I guess so, but at the same time, I do think it's a bit of an excuse because, you know, it's not just Remainers that have come out and said that Boris should go and that his position is untenable, and it's not just Remainers that have publicly criticised the PM.
Because we saw someone like Andrea Lids,
who
of course was sacked by Boris Johnson. We didn't have to be
I mean,
honest
maybe that it might be a bit of political opportunism, but at the same time, you know, you can't deny, regardless of whether or not you think that the contents of Sue Gray's report was particularly damning, nobody can deny that he has damaged the credibility of the party and he has lost trust with many voters because of simply the optics of this. So,
and the fact that the media hasn't stopped talking about it.
Well, yeah, but I'm a Brexiteer, but I think that it's dangerous, especially for for Nadine Dorries, who is pushing forward an online censorship bill to say, oh, it's Brexit, so no one can talk about it, no one can criticise Boris. I think that is dangerous, and I think we need to be a bit careful of subscribing to groupthink just because it's, you know, their man that's under attack. That's what I would say.
Yes, although Amy Nicol, I would argue that most of the economic problems that Tobias Elwood talks about are actually down to lockdowns and the fact that, well, we shut our economy down for 2 years and the world shut its economy down for 2 years. You do understand that the supply chain issues are all international. None of those countries have Brexiters.
Those countries are at about 7% inflation versus us at 9%. So you can't really deny that it has a role to play. And you can't
Their
keep
economies are so
saying
much different.
you can't keep saying that Brexit's working. Look at you walk in anywhere, job vacancy, job vacancy, job vacancy. Look at the airports right now. It's not
the
working.
airports are nothing to do with Brexit. It is all to do with the fact that I actually can.
Well, then you're
because I've looked
deluded.
into the subject very closely. It's because of the fact the travel and tourism industry was shut down for 2 years. Some of the big airlines and airports used that as an opportunity, incorrectly, I would say, to get rid of a lot of staff and restructure their businesses. And everything that's happening now is down to the fact that there are not enough people working, and it's not to do with Brexit,
And what
it's to
could
do
help
with
there
lockdowns.
be enough people?
What, cheap
working?
foreign labour? That's your answer, is it? That's a great lefty answer.
Or we could just have cheap British labour as we've got now. Wages are absolutely not happening at the moment. They haven't risen in the past 10 years, I don't think.
Well, that's partly to do with
country-
an influx of cheap foreign labour.
The country wants Brexit looked at. The polling suggests at the moment that more people are backing this than aren't. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that we need to look.
You really think that the country wants to have another debate about Brexit, do you?
I really do, because that's exactly...
I tell you why. Well, that's probably incorrect. Because of the Labour Party's position on Brexit. If they thought for 1 second they could make the next election about Brexit, they'd be right ahead and do it. Remember, Keir Starmer backed Corbyn's position, but he's quietly moved away from that now, and he's said we will not go back into the EU.
I think the thing that I could.
I'm sick of talking about Brexit.
I know we rarely agree, but on this occasion I really disagree, because I think that if anything, this is one thing that could make the Tories electable. If this is what a post-Boris Conservative Party looks like, then it looks a lot. A lot more appealing.
Get the Ramonas in. Get the Ramonas in. That will do good.
But they are the majority of the country.
No, they're not. I mean, Boris's only claim to fame at the moment and claim to actual achievement, and I say this as someone who's been very critical of him, is that he emphatically got Brexit done. That's one thing that he said he would do.
So what are the positive
He got into
sides?
office.
Because I feel like
it's
like my boyfriend said, please watch this really good film, and I'm just waiting for it to get to the good bit, and it's not got to
I think you have to understand that there was a pandemic that shut the country down for 2 years, literally about 2 months after we had formally Brexited. Sean, I will disagree with you on one thing, though. I don't trust what Starmer and the Labour Party say about Brexit and the EU. I think it's a palatable thing for him to say now. I think as soon as you got the nightmare Lib Dem, SNP, Labour coalition, just see Starmer inch us towards the EU again. Just see Starmer talk about rejoining the single market again. You know what he'll blame? He'll say, I have to do it because it's what the SNP and what the Lib Dems
No, he'll say it's for climate change.
I tell you what, I think that would break the British public. They would then get rid of them at the first opportunity. Let's look at the highlights. The response to the Ukraine war, what we're doing about the cost of living crisis, actually delivering Brexit, the fact that we've had our economy grow the fastest out of all the G7 nations, and most importantly...
I agree with that. I agree with that, but all I'm saying is
we couldn't even get
do
a
not
turkey at
trust
Christmas.
Starmer's claim
turkey.
that he will respect the referendum result, because I'm sorry, I saw Starmer say about 50 to 100 times that he wanted to overturn the biggest democratic mandate in our history. So I don't trust what you have to say about the EU.
If he did that, the British public will get rid of him at the first opportunity. They voted for Brexit. It's embedded.
Yeah, but it will be too late by that point, though.
I get it, but
by that point, we'll have a Labour, SNP, Lib Dem coalition.
I did say the next time round, the British public will not stand it. They vote for it. I know people who are very strong for Remain, and they accept that Brexit has happened because they believe in democracy.
We'll have to save that debate for another night, Amy. Now, eco-terrorists from Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain and Extinction Rebellion have tried to make our life difficult these past few months, haven't they? But today, it just gets better. Vegan activists became the most shameful of the lot as they tried to spoil our Queen's Platinum Jubilee. In a truly sickening act, the idiotic mob of the Animal Rebellion stormed past security and onto the Mall during Trooping the Colour. So here's the very start of the demonstration.
So as you could see there, police acted swiftly and were able to remove the little twerps who warned of a summer of hell in their war against the dairy industry. But like the green maniacs who came before, their animal rebellion are only turning the country against their cause, highlighted by this splendid reaction from the brilliant British public who made their feelings very, very clear as the protesters were carried away by officers. Just want to give a little round of applause to the brilliant British patriots who booed those grubby protesters. This is how they explained their actions.
We were demanding that the Crown Estate moves all their land, which is currently in animal agriculture, which is the second largest source of global emissions in the world after fossil fuels, and rewild it. So rewild all Crown Estate land currently being used in animal agriculture. With animal rebellion, animal agriculture is responsible for 39% of global emissions. The royal family says claims they care a lot about the climate crisis, and a first step to show that to be true would be to rewild their lands and move it away from animal agriculture, which is destroying all of our futures.
You know how I always say the vegans that I know look incredibly unhealthy and are fainting all the time? He's a very good example of that.
Really stay standing.
Amy Nicole, Sean Bailey, Dominic Samuels. Do stand by, because coming up, should Britain follow Canada's lead and consider decriminalising hardcore drugs, including cocaine and MDMA? Amy Nicole says yes. I say she's gone mad. So we'll debate that at 10:30. Plus, more Jubilee front pages on the way too. And next, will the Sussexes, who were pushed into the background and snubbed by even the official BBC coverage today, ever be truly welcome at a royal celebration? Biographer Tom Bauer, who's penned a bestseller on Charles and is working on a brand new book about Meghan, joins me live in the studio next.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Zuby and more front pages coming up, but first.
And the Queen isn't the only senior member of the royal family now missing tomorrow's Thanksgiving service at St Paul's Cathedral. Buckingham Palace claimed today Prince Andrew tested positive for COVID, giving them a convenient opportunity to avoid a PR disaster. Earlier today, the working royals were in full view at Trooping the Colour. Wasn't it brilliant? But the other royal exiles, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, were in attendance, believe it or not, but they weren't seen as they watched on from a room at the Major General's office at the other end of the Mall. Interestingly, despite it being their big return after turning their backs on the film, the BBC chose not to show a single shot of them. So joining me now with the inside track is royal biographer Tom Bower, who penned a bestseller on Prince Charles, is currently working on a bombshell new book about Meghan. So what did you make of this today, Tom? Do you think it was a purposeful decision by the BBC to show no images of Harry and Meghan? Because that felt very odd to me, because they were there, they were watching. We can see in the photos they were watching.
Well, I think clearly they took an editorial decision. They weren't going to let the Sussexes overshadow the Queen's big day. I mean, they just, for their good reasons, but fortunately, we can tune into your programme and discover the truth.
Well, yeah, although maybe, is this one of these rare occasions, Tom, where we should actually praise the BBC for something? Because actually we didn't really want to see them today, did
well,
we?
I did, because I thought it was extraordinary how she thrust herself at the window with her oversized hat and the big smile and lowered the window of the car so she could be seen. And here is this woman who hasn't apologised for all the lies she told on Oprah Winfrey and all the terrible, terrible trouble she's caused the royal family, not least because of the racist allegations. And she just comes over here to promote herself. The one good thing, which I do think, is a terrible shame that the Queen can't go to St Paul's, but it does mean that Netflix can't get the pan from Meghan to the Queen. That's cut out now.
Well, indeed, because can we just be honest about why this couple have come over here? They've had a stark realisation over the past few months, haven't they, that these big American companies are only interested in them because of their proximity to the royal family.
Absolutely, and that's what's so interesting. That the moment Harry discovered that his bid to appear on the balcony had been vetoed by the unbelievably wise advisors to the Queen, they suddenly got some sense into them. 18 minutes later, he said he was coming. And I think Harry today would have felt very, very bad. You know, he should have been on parade. He should have been in uniform. That's what his whole life was about. And Meghan has, in that sense, undermined him completely and set him on the track against his own family. And it'll be very interesting to see tomorrow and on Sunday whether they actually can recover and get into the limelight, which is what they badly need for their own financials and status as royal people in America.
But as you say, the bad news for the Sussexes is that the Queen won't be in attendance tomorrow. Presumably they will be seen by the TV cameras walking into St Paul's Cathedral, so their big moment to be at least close to the Queen in public, that's now been scuppered, although I imagine they will be happy that Andrew won't be there, because it's not a particularly good look for the Sussexes, is it, to be pictured alongside Andrew?
But I mean, we don't know which entrance they're going to go into or through, and we don't know whether they'll be seated yet. And we don't know whether they'll be in the eye line of Kate and William. I mean, all these things haven't not yet been disclosed. And if the palace, as I say, discovers unexpected wisdom, they'll make sure they're pushed to the side, because I don't think there's much love for them here. I mean, Meghan's approval ratings, I think, are 8% now.
It's extraordinary, isn't it, when you think their last public appearance with the royal family was 2 years ago, that Commonwealth service. And actually, back then, the royal family bent over
backwards to make them feel better and protect their egos. Remember, they didn't actually allow Prince William and Kate to enter because they didn't want to offend Harry and Meghan. I actually think it's much better that the courtiers, hopefully backed by Charles and William, have said enough of pandering to the Sussexes.
Well, I think they were pretty shocked with the way that Harry behaved after he called on the Queen on his way to Holland, and in the interview with NBC, effectively said that he didn't miss Charles and William, and said that he was worried that the Queen wasn't properly protected. I think they probably were pretty shocked by that, and that was the moment that, the mist fell. They realised that these couple were just intent on profiting from being royals, but quite determined to damage them. What I think is really very interesting is whether Harry is going to do his worst, a poison pen in his autobiography. I mean, that means a lot, both for his income and for the reputation of the royal family. And we'll just see whether bringing them over here, giving them a hug, letting them even appear, is going to diffuse their anger, or whether it's just going to incite them to do more. Because I don't think Meghan has loyalty for anyone other than herself. I thought it was just extraordinary that when her father fell, as you exposed, with that stroke, she goes to Texas and puts flowers on the shrine of people she doesn't know, and doesn't go down to Southern California to see her father. That just shows how self-interested she is.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. Of course, Thomas was meant to be here with us tonight. He was going to be a special correspondent at the Diamond Jubilee. And I just found it so crass that she would go to Texas for what looked like a PR stunt, surrounded by cameras. And it was literally, because I actually put it into my Google Maps just to check, she could have got to her dad in hospital in 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
There were no cameras at the hospital, Tom. I know that. I was speaking to the family.
Yeah.
So she could have got there and seen her dad before she came to the UK.
But come on, the other point is, though, surely, Dan, the sight of her father outside Windsor Castle with your cameras there and Meghan inside would have been pretty explosive. You weren't going to bring him over here just for sentimental reasons. I mean, that was going to make a real big impression. And, of course, the royal family was saved a huge headache by that, unfortunately.
But to defend Thomas on that front, he has been open to meeting with Meghan, as you know, for the past 3 years. So he wasn't coming here to cause the Queen trouble. He actually wanted to pay his respects to the Queen, and it was important for him to see Windsor Castle, something he'd never got the opportunity to visit. But, of course, he does want to meet Harry and Meghan, and he thought, if I'm in the same city, who knows? Well, I think it was unlikely, but who knows? Look, Tom, I just want to show you a beautiful live shot that we've got at the moment from Castle Killyleagh in Northern Ireland, because this is one of the more than 3,000 beacons that have been lit around the world for the Jubilee tonight. And it was great, wasn't it, Tom, to see the Queen able to come out at Windsor Castle today.
It was a fabulous sight, and what was really exciting, I thought, were the crowds on the Mall. I thought it was really Britain at its best. It was Britain united. It was Britain in love with the sovereign. Great tradition, 1,000-year-old monarchy. A great feeling that Britain does have a bond, and it is through the monarch. And I think that was wonderful today. And she looked terrific.
And do you know what? I just want to finally talk about that balcony moment today, because it was really significant. And I think some of the significance of it has maybe been lost, because what we actually saw today was the slimmed-down monarchy that Prince Charles intends to go with. Not only was there no Prince Andrew there was no Eugenie, there was no Beatrice, but there was a real focus on the children of Prince William.
Absolutely. And what is remarkable, what I think people are only beginning now to realise, is that we're going through the transition. I think when I wrote my book on Charles, which was very critical of him about 2 or 3 years ago, the real fear was the Queen would drop dead and Charles is very unpopular. Now, with this gradual handover, the shock is becoming minimised. And I thought he behaved very well on the balcony. He did very well in the parades. Camilla looked good. Kate and William looked sensational. The children. I think that today people will feel more royal than ever before.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And to be honest, I didn't look at that balcony scene and think, oh, I wish Harry and Meghan were there. I think we've moved on, actually.
Well, if they had been there would have been no cheers. I mean, that was thankfully...
Well, there may have been boos,
Exactly.
actually.
And thankfully, they kept... Charles and William made sure they weren't there. And that, of course, must have irritated them enormously.
Royal biographer Tom Bale, great to have you. But by the way, is there a name for the Meghan book?
There is, but I'm not telling it to you.
Oh, I cannot wait. So you'll have to come back when it's up, because
Thanks very much.
I've read your books before, Tom. There are always a few explosive revelations.
You won't be disappointed this time.
Excellent, Tom Bale. We'll do come back then. But coming up, after my exclusive poll revealed a jaw-dropping 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds agree with lefty loons who liken Union Jack displays to something out of Nazi Germany. Why are so many young people aggressively unpatriotic? Our social media sensation Zuby gives his verdict in Uncancelled at 10:45. But next, as Canada decriminalises hardcore drugs like MDMA and cocaine, should the UK really follow suit? My superstar panel disagree on this one, and so they'll get stuck into the debate next as the media buzz continues. We'll have more Jubilee front pages incoming too.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
And let's return to tomorrow's news tonight now in our media buzz. Lots of Jubilee front pages are in now, but of course the grumps at The Guardian can't resist focusing on the negatives of Her Majesty's celebration, reporting how the Queen is missing tomorrow's St Paul's service. They're also covering, quote, alarm at NHS failings on women's health, as it's revealed gynecology waiting lists have soared by 60% to more than 500,000 patients. The Times tomorrow has a fantastic wraparound front page celebrating the Jubilee. What is an iconic shot of the red arrows flying over the Mall with the headline, Britain's Platinum Age. But here's the actual front page on the inside. A glorious picture of Albion McKim. Actually, I have to be honest, that's the favourite picture of her I've seen today, because she just looks truly joyous. As they say, she, quote, gets her party started. The publication reports how Her Majesty was cheered on by tens of thousands outside Buckingham Palace, and cheeky Prince Louis put on a royal show of his own. History maker is how the Eye describes Her Majesty as they picture her beaming from the Buckingham Palace balcony. Ain't that the truth? We're just not going to see the likes of her again. But leading on the continuing airport chaos, the Daily Star brands aviation unions urging travellers not to bring luggage on their holidays, nut cases. And I love what they did there. Superstar panel back now. The political commentator Dominic Samuels, former Tory London mayoral candidate Sean Bailey and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicole. Now, possession of hardcore drugs, including cocaine, MDMA, opioids and methamphetamine, will soon become legal in parts of Canada. Individuals in the province of British Columbia, which includes the cities of Vancouver and Victoria, will not be arrested or charged if caught with less than a combined 2.5 grams of the substances. Authorities will allow them to keep their stash and direct them to health and social services as part of a 3-year trial, which will commence at the end of January. More than 2,000 people died of overdoses in the area last year and over 9,000 lives have been lost since 2016. British Columbia told Canada's federal government it hoped to, quote, remove the shame that often prevents people from reaching out for life-saving help. Prominent figures in the UK too have been calling for a rethink of our own attitude towards drugs. In Scotland, the SNP and Labour have been campaigning to establish safe drug consumption rooms, but the country's drugs policy minister, Angela Constance, claimed last week she had been unable to convince Westminster. Last year, Tory grandee and former party leader William Hague called for drugs to be legalised, citing the success of Portugal, which has seen drug-related deaths and infections drop since decriminalising consumption in 2001. With 4,561 deaths related to drug poisoning recorded in England and Wales in 2020 and a record 1,339 drug-related deaths registered in Scotland the same year, making it the drug death capital of Europe. Should we consider decriminalisation here, Amy Nicole?
Well, of course we should. And all we need to do is look at Portugal. In 2001,
of course we shouldn't.
They had an absolutely massive problem with drug deaths, so they decriminalised drugs. That was in 2001. That's a long time ago. So we can look at the data from then and we can see drug use fell overall. Drug deaths certainly fell. The prison population fell. 40% of prisoners were drugs related. Now that's 15%. And overall, healthcare as an approach to drugs policy has been a huge success, and that is why it was replicated in Oregon. That's why it's going to be replicated in Canada. And if we have any sense and we want to help people, if you're right, I can see you already.
Because it's just Canada of all places.
If you have a child
Justin Trudeau
who has a drug problem,
all people.
Do you want them to go to prison or do you want them to be helped by a healthcare professional?
It's about the example you set to society where people doing things that are bad for their health is normalised and almost glamorised. Canada has had a problem with drug deaths. Justin Trudeau's response to this is to decriminalise them. This is the same guy whose government literally pays people to take their own lives if they're too poor or disabled and don't want to live anymore.
About drugs policy.
This is the same... Yeah, but you have to view these things in tandem. This is the same government who's banned assault rifles recently and banned other weapons.
To the subject.
The same government who's forcing people to be vaccinated and not even allowing them to leave Canada if they didn't do what he wanted. He's creating... he's creating a society of degeneracy.
Well, OK, I'll stick to the same subject, but on a similar term, Amy. Jacinda Ardern, equally as authoritarian as Dominic Samuels in as Justin Trudeau in New Zealand, agreeing with Dominic Samuels' point, believes that she should outlaw cigarettes in New Zealand while legalising marijuana. How does that make any sense? I am sorry, Sean Bailey. I am sorry, Sean Bailey. I do not want to live in a world where drugs are legalised because I have seen life after life destroyed by drugs, and just throwing our hands up and saying, let's just let them be sold at Boots, go into Sainsbury's and pick up your MDMA, and we think that is going to work? No way.
So hold on. Let me make a couple of points there. Firstly, I used to work in one of the biggest drug projects in all of West London, and I spent a lot of my time speaking to young people who...
Do you know about this stuff?
So none of these reports talk about the crime generated by drugs. And let's be very clear about it. Let's be very clear here.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Let's be very clear here. We must not compare ourselves to Canada. We are not Canada. It's a very different social sphere over here. If you speak to the police in London in particular, they'll tell you anything up to 40% of all crime is driven by drugs. That's the first thing. The second piece is Do you honestly believe your local neighbourhood drug dealer is going to give up just because you could buy it in Boots? Or do you think he's going to provide it more cheaply? Or do you think he's going to provide it with much more strength? That's the other piece as well. When you look at what went on in Oregon, yes, they made some drugs not illegal, but there's no proof that it increased the number of people who were seeking help. It simply didn't do that. It did not do that. And hold on, the most important point is this. The single most damaging drug in this country today, and probably for the last 200 years, is alcohol. Why? Because alcohol is legal, which means it's cheaper, which means it's more freely available. Alcohol kills many more people than even the hardest drugs.
I mean, Amy, you're delusional if you think that legalising drugs will not see more teenagers consume drugs, for example.
No, it has. Tried and tested. This has happened already.
Tried and tested in terms
this has
of,
happened
say,
already
marijuana,
in another
for
country.
example.
No, this is
yes,
happening
it has.
since 2001.
In US states. But you're talking about Portugal, but there are other places where they've sought to decriminalise and legalise these drugs.
No, not across the board. Cannabis, yes, and actually in Canada...
For example, in US... Can I just finish? In US states where they legalised cannabis, it didn't get rid of the illicit drug trade because many of the cannabis that was sold legally was too expensive for the average person to buy. And secondly, addiction to marijuana, the rate of it actually increased and surpassed alcohol.
Of course, and Amy, if you were proposing a British society where I walk into Sainsbury's and say to the person,
it's not right
say to the person behind the till, oh yeah, I'll have my bottle of Smirnoff vodka and 3 grams of cocaine and whatever you get of MDMA. I don't even know how these drugs work. Hell no. Hell no.
Very evident
it's about morality.
No. This is so ridiculous. You need to accept the reality that there is a demand for drugs and you need to make it a safe place for people to be able...
I believe in zero tolerance to drugs.
Well, it doesn't work, does it?
Let me tell you what makes it...
Because we don't have zero tolerance for drugs at the moment.
It doesn't work.
What makes it a safe place to take drugs is when you understand what drives drug use. If you make drugs cheap, more people get in touch with it. That's a simple fact. The only thing that suppresses drug use is price. If you make drugs expensive, people vote with their feet. And also legality, because that lowers its availability.
Now, just a few hours ago, actual royalty descended on the Queen Vic to join Albert Square's Platinum Jubilee celebrations. No, you're not seeing things. In search of a proper Jubilee street party, Charles and Camilla left the balcony at Buckingham Palace for the hallowed streets of Walford in a special edition of EastEnders. Now, the episode was actually recorded back in March, and it saw the Queen Vic landlord Mick Carter, played by Danny Dyer, shock the square by arranging for the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall to make an official state visit. Here is Charles giving it us all, acting in EastEnders.
Jack Branning, he's the local police officer.
Thank you for coming to Wolford, Royal Highness. Pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much.
How on earth do you keep this lodge in order? I am very... Well, more...
Got a nice little bottle there.
Yes. It's rum, specially from Trinidad.
Fantastic.
Yes, and as they say, a drop a day keeps the doctor away. Royal Highness, would you have some in your tea? Oh. I thought you were never going to ask.
I'd like to make a toast to Her Majesty the Queen. Her Majesty the Queen.
Absolutely brilliant. Weren't bad actors either, were they? The only thing missing from the episode was the Carter family's pet bulldog. But with a name like Lady Di, probably for the best. Actually took the day off, given the company right. You see what I'm saying? Amy Nicole, Sean Bailey, Dominic Samuels, thank you so much. But coming up, it's not just the Queen who gets to wear the crown today. I'll name the final greatest Britain of the week, as well as their new Union Jackass. But next, as my exclusive poll reveals 1 in 4 18 to 24-year-olds agree that Union Jack displays are like something out of Nazi Germany. Why are our young so aggressively unpatriotic? Zuby, in just a few seconds after we look at what's coming up on Monday's show. Coming up on Dan Wootton tonight, after Her Majesty celebrates a historic Platinum Jubilee weekend, what does the future of the monarchy look like? Royal author Lady Colin Campbell offers her insight. Plus, best-selling writer Lionel Shriver, our very own Neil Oliver, and positive Professor Carol Sikora deliver a dose of reason on the issues that matter to you.
And as ever, I'm joined by my superstar panel, including Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, senior reporter at the newspaper Benjamin Butterworth, and conservative commentator Lacey Butcher. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GBNews.
But it's time now for Uncancelled. And this is where Britain's top commentators speak out on controversial issues without the fear of the cancel culture sweeping the rest of the media. Now, as the first day of Platinum Jubilee celebrations draws to a close, wasn't it incredible to see the great British public flock to Buckingham Palace in their thousands, draped in our glorious Union Jacks to celebrate Her Majesty's 70 years of service? You'd be forgiven for forgetting that last week the intolerant far left tried to ruin the party by slamming this display on Regent Street in London. There were several despicable tweets, including this one from India Willoughby, who wrote, "When the Queen dies, wouldn't be surprised if Boris appoints himself Führer and assumes total control. That's how close I think Britain is to Nazi Germany." And as I mentioned earlier in my digest, our exclusive poll of the country conducted by One Poll this week shows a concerning lack of patriotism amongst our young. In one particularly disturbing result, 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds, that's the equivalent of 2 out of 5 respondents, said it was appropriate to liken Jubilee celebrations to Nazi Germany. That number goes down to 18% when all age groups are included. Now, I hold out hope that Generation Woke will eventually come to their senses and feel pride in the Union Jack flag. But why is it that our young people are so unpatriotic? Well, to discuss this now, I'm joined by the rapper, author and podcaster Zuby, the host of the Real Talk with Zuby podcast. And Zuby, you've got a theory on this, don't you?
I have theories on a lot of things, Dan. First of all, I think the notion that anyone is comparing the Jubilee celebrations to Nazi Germany it's ridiculous. It's obscene. I don't often use the term offensive, but it is genuinely offensive if you think of what Nazi Germany stood for and the atrocities that they committed and the genocide with the Holocaust. It's grotesque to make such a comparison, to compare Boris Johnson to Hitler. I mean, it's deluded. And as I said, it's offensive. But in terms of the absence of patriotism, I think some of that stems from the world of academia and some wider socio-cultural factors. I think that especially over the last decade or two, there's really been a push to highlight the negative aspects of the UK. You've seen the exact same thing take place in the USA, where people feel this sort of shame, especially about the flag. In the US, if someone puts up an American flag, people jump to the conclusion that they're a conservative Republican and perhaps even that they're racist or xenophobic or something like that. And there's this similar sort of flag shame. In fact, there's more of this sort of flag shame when it comes to your own flag. In the UK, if someone puts up an England flag or a Union Jack, people assume that they're some type of racist or football hooligan or something like that. So I think it's a shame that so many young people have that connotation in their head, but I think it's something that's really emerged over the last couple decades somewhat intentionally by those narratives being pushed without the flip side of the positive aspects of Britain. We all know that there are historical sins that have happened under the British Empire, and I don't think anybody wants to deny that, but to associate the flag with just all of the negative and nothing positive, to me, is a very pessimistic way to look at it.
So how do we counter it, Zuby?
That's a good question. As I said, I think it's a matter of balance and perspective. I think it's very important for young people to know and to understand history and to be able to look at their own country and own society with somewhat of a critical lens, but that can also go too far. If you focus solely on the negative and all you associate the UK with or Great Britain with is imperialism or the slave trade or bad things that have happened throughout history, and you don't want to look at anything recent, you don't want to look at the progress that's been made, you don't want to look at the positive, then I can understand and empathize with why someone may draw that kind of negative connotation with a symbol such as the flag. So I think as we are discussing history and teaching history and talking about all these aspects, we also need to instill perspective and gratitude. I think it's also fair to say that if you look at history in general, most countries in the world, certainly any large or influential country in the world, has very dark aspects of its history. But when you are looking at a flag, it's typically not the thing that it doesn't mean that you're supporting everything bad that's ever happened or anything bad that the government may even potentially be doing. And I think that there are, I believe that the UK is a great country. I've traveled a lot around the world, and British people generally are good, decent, kind, law-abiding, and polite people. Yes, of course, there are bad people out there of every nationality and so on. But I generally think that a dose of optimism is needed. I don't think it should be the negative and the negative and the negative all the time. I think it's important to balance that out, not so that people have this sort of delusional patriotism and think that their country has never done anything wrong, and that this sort of like, I don't know. There can be excesses of patriotism for sure, but there can also be excesses in the other direction where people actually feel some contempt or hatred of their own country or their own citizens, and I don't think that's very healthy.
Very well put, Zubi. Happy Platinum Jubilee to you, and we'll speak again next week. But it's time now to reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. The superstar panel are back. Dominique Samuels, your Greatest Britain nominee, please.
My Greatest Britain nomination is, of course, the Queen. I don't think anything needs to be added to that. She's an absolute G.
Sean Bailey, your Greatest Britain nominee.
My Greatest Britain nominee is Prince William and the Trooping of the Colour, which involved 1,500 plus soldiers, 350 horses, doing really complex manoeuvres. I know that those soldiers will have put so much work into making it happen, and Prince William turned up to the practice, which is always a good thing.
And Amy Nicole, your Greatest Britain nominee.
My Greatest Britain is Prince Louis. For demonstrating how small portion of the country felt today, because he's also sick of the bunting.
Well, the meme that I've seen going around all day is that actually that was the expression he had on his face when his mummy told him, "Your Auntie Meghan's coming today." But look, all Jubilee related, which is great. Of course, though, it has to be the lady herself, doesn't it? On her first day of this historic Platinum Jubilee, the Queen has to be today's Greatest Britain. And just look at her beaming there. It was absolutely delightful. Union Jackass time now. Dominique Samuels, your nominee, please.
Oh, mine is the annoying climate/vegan protesters that tried to block them all, and they were...
Oh, it's just said the Archbishop of Canterbury there.
Oh. Was he a vegan? What was it?
Were you torn? Were you torn?
Yeah, there was two that I was going to pick, but the one that I thought that I was going to go with this one because they were both complete jackasses. But I was going to pick Justin Welby as well.
So was Justin Welby because of the whole Prince Andrew
Because
thing?
of the weird comments he made about forgiving Prince Andrew. As someone who comes across as woke as he does, I thought he'd be all over the anti-Andrew bandwagon.
That
but
was odd.
Really
OK, Sean Bailey, your nominee?
Mine was the Animal Rebellion vegan activist who broke into the mall today. Two reasons why. One, it was a dangerous thing to do. The police could have reacted in a very different way. They were very good, the police, actually. And secondly, it's this whole idea that they know better than us. We all know the type of person, a little bit condescending, thinks we're all silly and thinks they're smart. I've had enough of them.
And Amy Nicole, your Union Jackass nominee.
My Union Jackass this week is the Queen. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. It's actually Priti Patel saying anyone who vocally opposes Boris is a narcissist, which, you know, those in glass houses.
Sorry, my heart just skipped a beat there.
No,
you've been very annoying tonight. I have to say, though, the Republic organisation, you know, the mob that support the Republican, have just said, have just accused me on Twitter of trying to cancel Amy Nicole.
Really?
And say that I don't believe in free speech. I'm sorry, she's been sitting here for 2 hours slagging off the Queen. Free speech means I'm allowed to disagree with that.
He lets me do it every
week. Of course, the Union Jackass, though, is the Animal Rebellion. Thank you so much to Amy Nicole, Sean Bailey and Dominique Samuels. Thank you for joining us on this very special bank holiday. God save the Queen. Long may she reign.
UK will be wet for parts of northern England and Wales, plus Northern Ireland, drier elsewhere. Here's the details. Zooming into the southwest of England, and it will be a dry and bright start to the day here, with plenty of early sunshine on offer, especially towards the west. A little early mist and fog is possible in the southeast, quickly clearing. Otherwise, it's a dry and bright morning with sunny spells. Dry and bright across South Wales too, with sunny spells. The odd mist and fog patch is also likely here, especially in the valleys. There's a significant change in the weather as we head north to northwest England. It will be a cloudy start here with outbreaks of rain for many, turning heavy at times. We can expect further cloud and outbreaks of rain as we head east across the Pennines. The rain heaviest and most persistent over the hills, while it will remain driest in the east. It'll be a mostly cloudy start to the day for southern Scotland, with some brighter spells possible in the east. Some showery rain is also likely across western areas. Northern Ireland will also have a cloudy start with some showery rain at times. It'll tend to turn drier and brighter here though through the morning with some sunny spells.